Good morning and thank you for joining our webinar today, hosted by RICS Matrix. I hope you're all well and getting back out into the world, especially in the sunshine. I'm Natasha Tyler, Associate Partner at Powell Williams and Chair of Matrix in the UK. Today's webinar is titled RICS Matrix Young Surveyor of the Year Awards, a conversation with past entrants, winners and judges. With my panellists this morning, we all hope to inspire and encourage young surveyors to apply or nominate a colleague or mentor for the Young Surveyor of the Year Awards 2020. I'm pleased to share that we now have a dedicated landing page on the RICS website for all of our past and future RICS Matrix webinars, and we will put that in the chat box for you. We've created these webinars specifically for our members to cover topics such as the APC final assessment and support for those furloughed. Our webinar series has been set up in response to the current situation, as many of you find yourselves in unusual or unexpected circumstances. So RICS Matrix have put together a number of webinars on the most asked about subjects. We've sourced experts and members that are in similar positions to yourselves, so we can cover each topic from every angle and hopefully answer your questions. So that is my cue to let you know that there is a question function on this webinar, so please submit your questions to us here. We may answer them throughout the session we have planned, but if not, we have around 10 to 15 minutes at the end to answer audience questions, so keep them coming. Just to let you know that the questions come through to me only, and then I will distribute them to the panel. So please include your name so that we know, so you know when we answer your question. So today's webinar is focused on the RICS Matrix Young Surveyor of the Year Awards 2020, our flagship event, which applications are now open. The awards recognise and celebrate the most inspirational young surveying professionals in the UK. Judges will be looking for outstanding role models who work to the highest standards of professionalism and act as advocates for the profession. We have brought together a fantastic panel this morning, which I will introduce to you now. There are actually 7 in total here. We can only fit 6 on the screen. So I'm just going to disappear and then introduce you to the rest of the panel. So if you can just pop on and wave. So we have Justin Sullivan. If you can just pop your camera on, Justin. Yep. So Managing Director and Head of Dispute Resolution at DARE and Young Surveyor of the Year Award Judge in the QS category and overall category last year. We have Blaine Periton, Managing Director of Pride Consulting IMS. Give us a little wave, Blaine, and current overall winner of the Young Surveyor of the Year Awards 2019, and also in the QS category. We have Joe Ellison, Chartered Surveyor at Pinnacle Surveyors and winner of the Valuation category in the Young Surveyor of the Year Awards 2019. Where's Joe? I haven't actually seen Joe on the camera yet, so I'm not sure if his is working. We'll see if Joe pops up in a moment. Okay, so I don't think your camera's working. And then Laura Collins, Project Executive at Stanhope PLC and overall winner of the Young Surveyor of the Year Awards 2018, also in the QS category. We have Uwais Padawala, Executive Surveyor at Gardner and Theobald, winner of the Apprentice category in 2018, and in 2017 was the youngest qualified MRICS. We have Matt Fedigan, co-founder and director of Domet Professional Services and overall winner of the Young Surveyor of the Awards in 2017, and also in the Asset and Facilities Management category. And then myself, Natasha Tyler, Associate Partner at Powell Williams, RICS Matrix UK Chair. I won the Building Surveying category at the Young Surveyor of the Year Awards back in 2016, and last year I had the honour of judging the Building Surveying category, the overall category, and presenting the awards. So we will shortly hear from our panellists as to why they applied, why they nominated, how to identify if your colleague should apply, top tips and success stories. But before we get into that, I'll just give you a quick summary of the awards process. So first up, the most important thing, closing date for entries is Friday the 17th of July. Entrants must be aged 35 years or under as of the 1st of November 2020 and based within the UK. There are 10 categories: Apprentice of the Year, Assets and Facilities Management, Building Surveying, Commercial Property, Land, Urban and Rural, Mentor of the Year, Project Management, Quantity Surveying and Construction, Residential Property and Valuation. Within each category, a shortlist is created, and then there is a winner of each category, which will be announced at a special digital ceremony taking place in November. And the ultimate accolade of RICS Matrics Young Surveyor of the Year 2020 will be awarded to one of the category winners. Entries are invited from any of the following: self-nomination, entry by apprentices, trainees, associates, members and newly qualified RICS professionals. Employers may nominate their employees, clients nominating individuals with whom they worked with, or colleagues wishing to recognise another team member's efforts. Applications are anonymous. Before your submitted applications get through to the judges, your name and company are removed so that judges cannot identify who you are. In regard to the application itself, it's digital and you simply register on the portal. We'll also include the link to the application page in the chat box. You can start and then come back to your application form before the deadline, and the application includes 6 areas for you to provide evidence within, which is exceptional achievement, client satisfaction, team player, innovation, ambassador to the profession, and
Sorry,
a winning.
to cut across, Natasha, it might be worth you turning on your video as you're talking.
Sorry, I completely forgot that I hadn't turned it back on.
All right, carry on.
So let's, now I'm pretty much finished what I needed to say. So let's crack on with the session and hear from our panelists. We're going to go to Blaine first, the current winner and winner the QS category, I think I said. So would you be able to just share, I guess, why you applied and what sort of achievements you think made you stand out to help others identify what they could include in their application?
Absolutely. First of all, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to the RSS for doing lots of these, webinars, these events. I do know that they take a lot of organising behind the scenes, and I think in these times it's fantastic that the RSS is continuing to support the professions. And the other thing I'd like to say, just to all the viewers, that the market is very. I know we are in tough times, but our industry is a very robust industry. Going back to 2008 financial crisis, I think some of the strongest surveyors came out of that crash, and therefore, I think the message should be very positive. People should really be looking forward to the future of the industry and continue pursuing with it and not get despondent. In terms of why I applied, I can't answer that because I didn't actually apply myself. I was nominated by a colleague, very kindly of them to do so, just to recognise things I'd done in the firm. So I think to answer, I can only kind of hazard a guess at the reasons why I was able to win the QS category and also the overall. A few of the things that I'm incredibly proud of myself is 4 years ago I identified there was an opportunity. I myself am an independent monitoring surveyor, so effectively it's a bank QS, not a traditional QS in the sense of the term. So I identified that there would be an opportunity with the RICS to create an IMS dedicated APC pathway, because what I had is candidates who are struggling to go through the dedicated QS route because actually the skill set's quite different. So I can now confirm after 4 years there is an IMS pathway being drafted. There is a steering group that's been formed, and we meet regularly once a month to discuss the competency guidelines. So that was fantastic for me in terms of something that I'm extremely passionate about and something important. But taking that aside, I think the commitment to the APC, again, having passed the APC myself and gone through it, I understand the support and commitment you have to that. So I am an internal APC mock assessor. I'm also an APC mentor. I know historically it used to be called a doctor in terms of supporting external candidates who maybe not getting the support at their firms. And the reason why I'm extremely committed to that is I started my career at a tier 1 main contractor, and unfortunately at the time they didn't have any MRICS surveyors in the team, so I found it incredibly tough to get the support, and I relied upon APC doctors and the likes to help me get through my APC. And I think involvement in things like the RSS Matrix. I do the RSS London Matrix events, but they're regional, they're across the country, and I think it's incredibly important to get involved in that. And also the networking events, because you are surrounded with your peers, you have an opportunity to discuss any potential issues or concerns you have with people that also may be going through the same thing. So I think, in terms of the RSS, it's that global support network that I think is fantastic, and it's something that I'm extremely passionate about and thankful for. But ultimately, without killing people's dreams, there is no roadmap to winning this. I can't say to you, do these 5 things and you will win the QS category. I'm sure all the people who are going to speak as well have had different journeys to me and have done different things. So it's not just these 5 things. For me, it's always held me in good stead, is keeping to the RSS ethical standards, act with integrity, promote trust in the profession. If you apply these to all your day-to-day role, then for me, it's a continued commitment to being the best at what you do. And that's my answer, because I can't give you the 5 things that will make you a winner, because each people have different journeys. And I think that's the thing that I love about our industry. Everyone has different roles, different positions. So it's not down to your role, it's down to what you do in your role.
Yeah, and I think that's important to say as well, because quite often I hear people say, oh, I don't think I've done anything, good enough or exceptional enough to apply in the first place. But actually, as I mentioned earlier, there's 6 different areas that you can put your experience against. And actually, when you do start the application, you realise that you have achieved more than maybe what you think. So you didn't apply.
I don't think it's not necessarily down to the grade you achieved. I've made director. It's irrelevant in my opinion in terms of this award. This award isn't to recognise that. It's because anyone could arguably do that, go up the promotion chain. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do to that commitment to something. And I'd be really keen to see, hopefully, the award with something coming out of COVID. Is there some new innovation or something that someone their job to benefit in this market? That would be really exciting to see, because as I said before, the 2008 crash, starting to show my age now, but that in my time, there was a lot of people who left the industry and left the market, and I strongly urge people not to do that, because yes, we are in tough times, but the market will recover, and it is recovering. I'm seeing that already. So it'd be lovely to see some success stories coming out of that.
Yeah, that was a really good point. And I just was going to pick up on, you said that somebody else applied for you. So did they complete the entire application? Did they complete the application form, or did they approach you and then obviously you had to give them all of the information?
Absolutely. So they said, we think you deserve to be put forward for this. Why don't you go for it? And then I completed the assessment, but I didn't send the application. They submitted the application form, but I gave them the information that they required in terms of time spent here and etc. etc.
Yeah, no, that's
just. So I wasn't related.
Yeah, and I can see your awards in the background actually on your shelf, proudly displayed.
Shine and polish every day.
Yeah, I'd really like to know, obviously being the current winner, so fairly recently, over 6 months or so ago, what were the benefits that you immediately found? And I know that you've since founded your own company, so it would be interesting to know how winning has impacted your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first point is the global recognition. This is the RICS, which is a global network of professionals. So that's been absolutely fantastic, and to see the power of social media as well. When again the RSS announced the award winner, and I've had some really encouraging, positive messages from people I've never met from different countries, all saying, congratulations, well done, and again inquiring as to how did you achieve this accolade, which I gave them the same response that I said today, which is I can't say to do these 5 things and you win it. I think for me personally, the biggest highlight of my career, without a doubt, was getting my RICS. So getting my RICS chartership. This is very, very close, and I'm not belittling it, but I don't think you should strive to do things to win an award. And I think that goes back to the point that you can't have a roadmap. And I'm surrounded by some fantastic people who, again, we've all had very different journeys, but I regularly see them interacting with the RSS. Again, using the RSS for what it is a global network, professional network of peers. So my biggest bugbear is people who treat the RSS a bit like a driving test, where you pass, you learn to pass your MRICS and then have no further involvement. That, I think, is the answer, in my opinion. If someone would say to me, what do I need to do? You need to be committed to the profession. So yeah, in terms of the benefit, and again, showing my love of football here, but I can only equate it to Ballon d'Or, really, in terms of our profession, and that's how I felt when I won it. That there is no higher accolade for your surveyor in our career. So yeah, it's incredibly humbling and fantastic award to win, and nice for hard work. Ultimately, and I'm sure everyone around the group and the panelists would agree that they're all here because they've worked extremely hard, and they deserve the recognition that they've received.
No, that's very, very true. And now, before I just quickly move on, was there a final word that you want to say to encourage others to apply?
Ultimately, I mean, I am extremely passionate about our profession. I love what I do. I love my career, and for anyone else who's in that position, why would you not want to strive to be the best, and why would you not want to strive to be rewarded for your hard work? So it's without a doubt it's a fantastic thing to do, and I can only encourage people to consider it. But the key part is it's not down to you've made managing director in 5 years, or it's nothing to do with that. And I was really, really pleased to see. I was slightly sceptical when I was submitted because I work for a smaller firm, and I think it was fantastic that it's not judged on you are a director of a huge corporate firm. It's down to your personal achievement. So it's something that no one can support you with because it's what you've done yourself. And that's what I really want people to consider. That you might not think it's a big thing you've done, but actually in reality to your role and what you're doing, it could be a fantastically strong thing and something that could win the awards outright, that you may consider.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a show-stopping project that you worked on, for example.
Yeah. It could be an innovation, something you've done in a report, or it could be anything. And I say I would love to see some success story coming out of COVID. That would be my one wish.
No, it'd be interesting to see the applications this year. So I'll move on to Joe, who you just mentioned about a smaller firm. Joe won the valuation category this year. So Joe, I'm not sure your camera is working. Joe?
Yeah, my camera's not working, so I'm facing.
Okay, that's fine. So could you just share with your reasons behind applying, and actually did you identify yourself you wanted to enter the awards, or did somebody come to you?
Yeah, so my sort of journey started with different awards actually, and it was I'm a mortgage valuer, and I was a finalist in the Rising Star category at the British Mortgage Awards last year, and that was something completely unexpected. But it sort of gave me a bug to have a look at more awards, and simply because of the confidence that being a finalist gives you. So I'm a member of Matrix, so I'd sort of heard of the Young Surveyor of the Year awards, but I'd always seen that as an award that was for the best of the best, and I definitely didn't consider myself to be that high up. But my employers sort of said, why don't you just give it a go, see what happens. So yeah, with a bit of persuading, I put the application in, and mine's quite a simple story of just going above and beyond what is sort of expected of me every day. I can't say I've really done anything particularly spectacular, but what my whole application sort of centered around was that all the work that I've done hasn't just been for myself or my firm, but it's been for the benefit of the sector more than anything. So I've spent a lot of time working with our technology providers to make what all smaller independent residential valuation firms to improve what they can offer to their clients.
Okay, yeah, and I think actually I do remember from when you did win, and that was actually quite a big part of your application of just going above and beyond your sort of day-to-day job and actually trying to better the area or the industry that you work in.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing major. Yes, obviously, there are things that I've done to sort of benefit the industry as a whole. For example, being a part of Matrix is just doing something to grow the profession, and also being an Inspire ambassador and doing a bit of going into schools. But for me, as important as that is, it was very much about what I've done for mortgage valuation more than anything, because we sort of potentially don't get as involved with as RICS as much as we should have done. Just being a part of Matrix showed me that even though being in Derby Matrix, it's quite a small group anyway, but I was the only person that dealt with residential property. I was the only person that really dealt with valuation. So they are sort of areas that needed a bit of a boost, and it was good to be able to sort of talk about that in my application.
Yeah, and what would you say, having won your category back in November, what benefits have you seen? Have you had any opportunities come your way that you may not have otherwise?
To start with, it is just the confidence boost that you get when you win something, and if anything, it just gives you a drive to achieve even more and wonder, what can I do next to better myself in the profession. The recognition that you get from everybody, social media does play a big part in our lives, and being able to put on social media that you've won and then getting sort of the comments and the likes flying in. Then the other thing is sort of, I did experience getting sort of a lot of job offers immediately afterwards. Not something that I took up, but sort of people were interested in talking to me about me moving on to other things.
Yeah, your name is suddenly on sort of a lot of social media channels, isn't it? So
yeah, definitely.
That's a good thing for your employer to have a member of staff that has been recognised at the awards, particularly, as you said, for a smaller firm as well.
Especially, yeah, definitely. Being a smaller firm, it's great for the employer to be able to say that one of their employees has won the award. I was very dubious when I saw the shortlist in the valuation category and saw myself up against some of the biggest names in valuation. So I'd sort of thought it was pretty much a write-off, and there was no way I was going to win. Because you'd sort of just immediately think that those firms are going to be able to do something a lot better than you. But yeah, as you say, coming from a smaller firm, it's just great to have that opportunity to get involved and go on and win.
And I actually found from winning my category a few years back that when we were advertising and recruiting, that actually some graduates wanted to join because I had won the awards. So they thought, okay, that must be a great firm to work for if they have employees working for them that can win the award. So I think it has benefits from lots of different angles.
Yeah, I can completely.
Sorry.
No, I can completely. I can completely understand that, and obviously with the current situation, looking at recruiting isn't something that is probably on a lot of firms' highest priorities at the minute. But yeah, I can definitely understand how that can be of benefit when looking to recruit graduates and trainees into the industry, especially in my sort of sector is potentially a dying breed. The average age is 55 and above. So being able to attract the younger surveyor is really beneficial.
No, definitely. I'm going to move on to Laura, unless you had something else that you wanted that we didn't touch upon.
Yeah, just the one last thing that I wanted to say, if possible, is
Yeah.
that even if you don't sort of win or even become a finalist, it's a great opportunity to just sit down and review and evaluate the work that you've done over the last few years, and yeah, just look at what you've done and actually feel some praise and confidence in what you've already done.
Yeah, and even being shortlisted is such a great opportunity when you're surrounded by so many other great young surveyors.
Exactly, lots of inspirational stories.
Yeah, so actually we'll move on to Laura, and an inspirational story there, and your why you applied and your achievements. So would you be able to quickly sort of recap on that from 2018?
Of course, I'll try and keep it to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me this morning. I hope everyone's keeping safe and well. I won in 2018. I just thought I'd give a brief overview of who I am. So I've been a chartered surveyor for, I've been in the industry for 14 years. I've traditionally went through the apprentice route. In old money, I was a trainee. I started at Davis Langdon back in 2006, and I specialised in MEP installations. So that's something I've been working on, but most recently I've moved across firms to a development manager. So now I'm working for Stanhope. So I'm not doing the traditional QS role anymore, but I'm really enjoying the new challenge. So why I applied for the award, I didn't, like Blaine, I didn't actually apply. Someone nominated me at my old firm, I Love at Bucknell, and I think I wanted to go for it to kind of raise my profile. At the time, I was doing a lot of work in the industry about kind of from an equality and diversity perspective. So it was something to try and put my name out there and to get some industry recognition, to give it a platform that it rightly deserves. So you asked about achievements. I had to look back actually because it was a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
So I had a look at kind of what the judges thought that I achieved as part of the award process. So I was at the time, I was one of the when I chartered, I was one of the youngest surveyors in the world at the time, purely because I went through the apprentice route. So it gave me a platform to get chartered as soon as I could. And I was also one of the youngest associate directors at Mace. When I was promoted, I was the youngest associate director, and I was also pregnant at the time as well. So it was quite a good achievement to get promoted, well, just before going on maternity leave.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of stuff in the industry in terms of mentoring, and I also implemented the apprentice scheme at RLB. I'm quite passionate about growing our future surveyors and organically growing in a business. So that was something I was part of putting in. I'm also an APC assessor, and I do a lot of stuff in the industry, like I say, for the equality and diversity impact. So as well as that, I was doing my day job, which consisted of lots of different projects, but one particular project was working for a Australian client, delivering their Brexit office in Amsterdam with staff moving over from London, financed from Hong Kong. So it was working across 4 different time zones at one point, and it was quite an interesting project that I enjoyed working on. But my biggest achievement of it all was I've been doing all of this whilst being a working mum as well. So it was really good for me to be able to kind of be a voice for working parents in the industry. And just in terms of some impact, so obviously I have changed careers that I'm really enjoying at the moment. Never thought I'd work client side, but here I am. Joined in November last year and really enjoying the challenge. I've also I'm enjoying making key decisions on projects, so that also means that I can have an impact in terms of people's working flexibly and making sure that my teams are fully supported from a wellbeing perspective. and making key decisions for an inclusive design, which I find quite exciting, that I can make decisions on how we can, the future of our buildings and how we can make them as inclusive as possible. Also, what I've been up to most recently has been doing I'm a part of the working the Women of the Future RICS group, and we're looking at the moment to develop a construction diversity council led by an amazing person in the industry, Sharon. So watch this space. It's going to be an interesting time, especially with COVID. I think a lot of people have reevaluated the way they're working, and we've really demonstrated in the industry how we can work flexibly. And I know I've been at home for now 16 weeks, and I'm still delivering projects. I'm still done my first electronic tender. I'm doing a lot of Teams calls back to back and getting team fatigued. But I think we've all demonstrated that it's a big push in the industry at the moment that we can make it work and we can be inclusive as we can. And just one final thing for me, for something that really I really enjoyed last year, and I wouldn't have been invited to it otherwise, but I welcomed the new members of the RICS with Natasha last year, I think you remember, and Chris Brook as well, and that was a really lovely day. I really enjoyed welcoming all the new people to the profession, so it was brilliant. It was really good.
No, that was the new members ceremony, wasn't it?
Ceremony, yeah. Really enjoyed it. It was a really good day.
No, that's really good to hear that. I think also, have you, I guess, that platform of winning, did that also inspire you for other sort of awards and recognitions? Am I right?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of awards. So I won, my first award was in 2016. It was the YS Award in QSing. I've also been nominated. I was also given the Illuminator of the Year from my university as well, which gave me a platform for this particular award, I think. And last year I was recognised as the UK Construction Week, one of their class of 2019. So it's really given me some really good industry recognition, and it's given me a good platform to have a voice. I've been invited to a lot of panels, and it's just gone from strength to strength, really.
And a lot of opportunities that may otherwise have taken a little bit longer to come your way. Otherwise... And
I think it's probably worth noting that these sort of things are terrifying to most people, including me. But I think just take every challenge that you can, and if it takes you outside your comfort zone, then it's a good thing.
And use that recognition, whether it's your shortlisted, your category winner, or an overall winner, to try and use that whilst you have an entire year being shortlisted for the awards, actually trying to use that to your benefit and see what you can do with that recognition.
I hadn't actually realised that I'd won the overall category. I thought we was just all going back on stage to kind of do a group photo until someone nudged me and said, "Laura, you won it," and I was like, "Oh, really?" So I think I just echo what Joe and Blaine was saying earlier, really, is that if I looked at my profile, I wouldn't have thought that I was going to win it, and I did. So, and it's been amazing for my career. So do go for it.
And I think that's the biggest thing to take away, isn't it? That you probably don't think you're going to win, but you should apply anyway, and you never know where you may end up. Definitely. Okay, well, thanks for that, Laura. We'll come to UACE. Apprentice won the apprentice category, and as I said earlier, I think in 2017, so maybe you overtook Laura and became the youngest MRICS. So could you share why you applied, or if somebody nominated you?
Yeah, it was a bit of a joint decision. So my line manager at the time, he actually came to me with a different platform, not RICS, that holds sort of award ceremonies, throughout the construction industry as well, and they had an apprentice category within it. At the time, I passed on it, and I said I'm not too keen or confident just yet. I think I was still doing my APC at the time. But once I sat my APC in September 2017 and got my results in November 2017, I think that's when my perspective changed a little bit. I was 22 at the time where I become chartered, and it was just a surreal feeling, because again, I came through as an apprentice route. I started at the age of 16, straight from school, and to be working in a professional environment, you know, like amongst like professionals, and yeah, it's a bit daunting and a bit of a scary thing to go through at the time, but yeah, managed to get through it. So I think it was that end goal for me was chartership anyway. So went through college on a day release, went through university on a day release, and yeah, so after I become chartered, and then the RICS, they were doing the Young Surveyor of the Year awards, and I still qualified for that apprentice category. That's when I thought, I sat down with my line manager and I said, what do you think? You know, there's a lot of things that's happened over the past couple of years, which I think we could, just get recognition for. One for myself as a company, and RICS in general, because at the time there was a shift in RICS, where they were promoting a lot for apprenticeships at the time, trying to bring young people into the industry, being more diverse, and I'm glad to have been a massive part of that and helping that form that change. So got my first opportunities with RICS, where I was invited to talk at I can't remember the MIPIM event.
Okay.
Yeah, where Amanda Clack was present. She was the president-elect at the time. So again, I was 18 at the time, or 19, where I was talking to RSS professionals, and more senior people in the industries, talking to them about apprenticeships and journeys and how it could benefit them and their companies. And then the ball started rolling from there as well. Got involved with RICS in rebranding their marketing material in what they use to take to schools. If in some schools you might see a random poster with me, trying to fly a drone or something. But it was really good. I mean, people don't think about the different opportunities you get, or that are out there, just from surveying. They'll think, oh, it's an office job or it's just in construction. But, these are the little side perks that come with it. And, this is what this award was as well. It's, it's a perk of being part of this, amazing industry, being, part of the RICS. And it's a time to sort of enjoy yourself. So I think it's really good in that sense. And there was other talks and speeches that we went on, as part of like my achievements, where I was invited to speak at Churchyard in Westminster, as part of the apprenticeship trailblazer scheme, in which as a company, Garner Fieldboard and RICS led and got grants and bursaries from government, and changed the whole perspective around apprenticeships, the course. And at the time, I think I was 20 or 21, and I'm there in front of university, academia, lawmakers, and RICS, and professionals, and companies, or company heads and managing directors, and to then, even for them to listen to a 20-year-old at the time, to take in the perspectives of what being an apprentice is, what we can bring to the table. It's just amazing. One thing that I'm really proud of as well, that we did in the past, was during a National Apprenticeship Week. Again, with the RICS, we took part in a challenge called the Braffet Challenge, and it's a challenge where loads of companies, and like huge organization and companies, where with an RICS put together a team of apprentices from all different backgrounds of surveying of the different industries, and we did loads of things during that week, in raising the awareness of apprenticeships. Got in touch with local newspapers and to write news articles about you. We did local gardening, to help charities, social media, and one of the big thing was we held a breakfast event at Battersea Power Station, and for a group of apprentices to organise a whole breakfast event, to hold a panel, to hold a Q&A session for, you know, company managing directors and decision makers to attend to. We had about 100 people attend that event. You know, it was just unreal, and we got a lot of recognition for it, and it was really good. And I think, yeah, the Young Surveyor of the Year award just was in the apprentice category was just the icing on top, I think. And, you know, just to be there at the event itself, you know, surrounded by, you know, friends and family, you know, you get to dress up nice, black tie event, 3-course meal, you know, these are the things, little things that, you know, it's a very hospitable industry as well, in terms of that we're in, you know, a lot of networking goes on. And I think just to be a part of that, it was really good.
And I think it's great that the awards do have their own apprentice category, because I think otherwise, if you are, you know, because you still also are on a specific pathway, but I think it's important to have that apprentice category. Otherwise it may, as we've said, otherwise people may not think they've done enough to enter in the first place.
Well, that's it, definitely. I mean, it's to even have an apprentice category, you know, and one thing, for if there's any apprentices on the call or anyone at any level really, it's don't be put off by the number of years or anything that you've worked at the place for, or, you know, what you think you may or haven't done. Open up the application and have a look through it, and just generally just apply and put down on paper what you think you've done in order to contribute into some of those areas. So, you know, I've listed out some of these things that were on the last category, or on the application when I applied. You know, things like innovation, ambassador to the profession, team player. You know, as a young individual, you know, you're in that company, they want you for your ideas. You know, that's where your innovative side comes out of. You know, when you're in client team meetings, you're there because your line manager has put you there and has trust in you in order that you bring something to the table. And so never shy away from anything. Being an ambassador to the profession, you know, how do you carry yourself? Are you giving back? Are you helping the younger apprentices that are coming through at the same time as you are? You know, being a team player, what spirit do you bring to the team? You know, it's like the industry itself, you know, the average age is probably quite high in general. And when as an apprentice, you know, at the time when I came in at the age of 16, you know, in my team, everyone around me was probably in their 30s or, you know, 40s. And it's like you bring that youth to the team, you know, and you just like build up the spirit a little bit more. So it's you know, put all these things down on paper, and it may help you, you know, sort of reevaluate as well, like what your goals are, you know, where if there's areas that you think that you could probably do more in, that you probably work on, and then you'll still be able to qualify for it the following year. And then once you've, you know, worked towards those things, then apply again the following year. But, you know, it's great that, you know, the RICS and, you know, the industry are recognizing the importance of apprentices and, you know, what they bring to the table. So I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the big things that stuck out in what you've done to achieve that award, there's a lot of involvement there with RICS and giving back to others and inspiring the next generation specifically as well, with going into schools and universities.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, it's there's a shift in the industry. You know, we are trying to get more young people, more diverse people, you know, into the industry, and that's the main thing. You know, if once you've gone through the process and you know what it's like, it's, you know, it's always great to sort of, you know, being able to sort of give back, and, you know, also bring people into the industry. And again, RICS are massive advocates for that at the moment. So if anyone's ever looking to sort of get involved in, you know, schools, and you know, doing like, you know, little talks there, and just in general, you know, with like the matrix and stuff as well, it's a great opportunity in ways to sort of get involved and, you know, preaching almost about our industry and how great it is, and, you know, getting more youth and, you know, young blood into the industry.
And the way you can get involved, there are local matrix groups around the UK, so go on to RICS Matrix on LinkedIn, and then we'll be sharing what we're doing there. Obviously it's all digital at the moment, and we're not going into schools or universities. And there's also the overall RICS Ambassador Programme, so if you just search for the Ambassador Programme, you'll find that on the website too. So thank you for sharing your story. I just want to remind everybody to ask more questions, and that if you do have anything technical related that you need help with once you do start applying, I believe Angela will at RICS will pop her email address, who's just behind the scenes at the moment, will pop her email address in there so you can contact Angela. So we'll go on to Matt and then finally Justin, where we'll be discussing more from the judge's point of view, but to Matt now. So it's been over 3 years since you won your won overall, and you actually won from the position of having your own company already. So it would be interesting to know why you decided to apply and the benefits.
Well, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago. So I'm still managing to make it into panels with the esteemed company that we're in today. I'm still dining out on that one now, which is a great pleasure of mine. But it is a pleasure, I think, to be surrounded by so many really talented individuals. That's for sure. You're absolutely right. I can relate as well. I used to look a lot younger than this until about 4 months ago, so I can relate to what Laura was saying about being a parent. First Father's Day on Sunday for me, so I didn't have these bags under my eyes, and my hair was a bit shorter and neater actually about 4 months ago. But there we are. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I had a business which was sort of grown as a startup, many years ago, and it's a really innovative time. Actually, we found in relation to some of the things we've been talking about, COVID, we gave our staff complete flexibility around about 4 years ago, and have been so well set up for this that it's actually been relatively seamless in terms of the technological piece. Completely agree with what Blaine said earlier about we've seen countless examples and stories of people who have gone the extra mile, or my own business as well, donating PPE to God knows what else, trying to help the NHS through this awful sort of period that we're in. But there's been so many good stories out there, and I'd hope to see some of those come through. In terms of the application that I submitted, though, as to your question, you're right. I mean, it's centered largely, I think, from my perspective, around some of those business achievements and how we were growing the business, diversifying the business. We've since continued to do that. So around about that time, we were looking at mergers and acquisitions, which I was sort of leading on, or playing a part in leading on, and we've continued to sort of grow from that into forming a sort of architecture piece, a RIBA registered element. So a multi-disc practice together with mechanical and electrical stuff, which is very, very technology led. So really that kind of business piece was one element of it. But actually it was some of the earlier experiences that I really, I think, well, people said that were some of the judges afterwards that sort of made the impact. So, I mean, one of those, I think, again, like Laura, I used to work in a larger firm at EC Harris and then Arcadis and so on and so forth. And it was the combination, actually, of that sort of wider sort of larger experience, I think, working with larger industry internationally, as well as in the UK market, that sort of added, I think, to that. I've been absolutely assured off the record, and now it's on the record, that I've been previously the RICS chair in the Northwest board for around about 4 years or so. So I've had a lot of involvement from the board perspective in kind of really encouraging diversification of the board and really working with charities and growing the face of the profession in the Northwest region. So there were achievements there, certainly in the Northwest. We had the first president's visit ever to Liverpool, which was a great deal to us, meant a great deal. But really, actually, I've been assured that it wasn't solely particularly those experiences with RICS that did it. It was actually those career shaping and defining moments that my business partner who applied for me put forward. And one of those, for instance, was I did some work in the United Arab Emirates at a time when they were building the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, and the influx of people to build those sorts of iconic architectural masterpieces, if you like, I suppose, in a modern and contemporary context. You don't have that concentration of people, so there are all sorts of issues there to do with, I suppose, equality and safety and a whole host of things that we sort of went in and demonstrated how we turn that around. We did something similar that I demonstrated in the UK, applying that knowledge for a major logistics provider in the UK as well, to turn a series of, really, in that instance, quite serious health and safety failings, turn that around and actually to create, a successful outcome on the other side. So it was probably that sort of mix, I think, that that sort of did it from a larger business perspective, but also certainly from a young business that's sort of growing and hopefully inspiring a few people to consider doing the same thing. But
yeah, no, it's really good to know that. I think that's important because there are the 6 sort of areas that you complete in. So you may not think I've got one outstanding achievement, but actually all of them, if you've got a great example of some client satisfaction and then something else under innovation, all of that added together.
I think that's a really, really important point, actually. And, I think US looked at it, just briefly touched on it. I mean, I know in terms of what other winners have said just now, there is no roadmap. That's absolutely true. There are a few things you can do to help, though. I think where we're talking, I mean, we've got the criteria there. We can see what you have to do. Once you've interrogated that, and it's probably about a page or 2 long, so it won't take you too long over a cup of tea to do that. But once you have, I think it's important to understand, where it says client satisfaction. In my application, certainly, I had a number of really quite key and influential clients, and it was a range of clients who provided direct quotations, perhaps to assist the application. And I think when it's all well and good, you're, in my case, my business partner, making all these sorts of points about, we've done this and that's great. But actually, if you've got someone on the front line, be it in a healthcare setting or be it a CEO of a business, or actually maybe it's just a charity or a smaller business that you've really, really created an impact in, I would really sort of advocate that people, try and obtain those quotations, because I think they must make a difference. It's straight from the horse's mouth.
That's a really good tip, actually, to include. You can say about the client how you satisfy your clients, but actually, if you get it just a sentence or so from 1 or 2 clients as evidence, I think that is a really good top tip there. And do you want to just briefly, because I'm just conscious of time. I mean, we haven't really had very many questions come in, so there'll be plenty of time for Justin. But just quickly, the impact of winning and your reflection upon that.
Yeah, the impact of winning has been fantastic. I mean, I've sort of gone on, I've shared stages with all sorts of people that I should definitely not be meeting, that's for sure. And that's everyone from industry leaders, presidents, including Amanda Clark and Chris Brook, among many others, to Claire Balding and Will Gompertz from the BBC. So God knows how that happened, but there we are. And I think we ended up, you end up being invited, I think, to speak. I've hosted RICS events, some flagship events, such as the Building Surveying Conference, which I think, as some of the other panelists have alluded to, it's absolutely terrifying, but you do it. And hopefully it inspires. But that's 1,000 people, and then you go on to look at other conferences such as EcoBuild, and I sort of think it. People have said it gives you that confidence boost, and it also, I think, surveying. The final point for me, I'd just say, is that surveying, I think, still is an industry and a discipline that struggles with its own identity somewhat to articulate it. Everyone knows what an architect is, but with through these really inspiring stories that we've heard, we've touched on a few of them today. But I think with those, that's how surveying, inspires the next generation of surveyors coming through. So I really would encourage individuals, to get involved, to apply. Hopefully, those stories will be borne out in terms of people winning awards and things like that. Those stories will in this country.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, I think it just on my signal went a little bit blurry there, but thank you for sharing and words of encouragement for people to apply. So we'll move on to Justin then. So thank you, Matt, and thanks, Justin, for patiently waiting for your turn at the end. So as I said, you judged the QS category last year and also the overall category, which I was also involved in. So it's good to see actually Blaine and Joe from the application forms. But as a judge, would you be able to sort of share some insight in not only just identifying yourself, but actually the importance of thinking about others and nominating them and what judges are looking for?
Yeah, thank you, Natasha, and thank you for inviting me to this session. But Blaine, can you turn your video on? see if we can get Blaine on while Blaine's trying to work out how to operate his technology. There he is. So, I mean, what I would say from a perspective, from an RICS perspective and an industry perspective on this, and I should add that I'm the deputy chair of the Construction Industry Council, is this award is something that can't be taken away from you. There are a few things you do in life that are there forever. Getting a degree is one of them. Becoming chartered isn't one of them, because if you're naughty, then you can get thrown out of the RICS. But this award will be with you for life. So it is an achievement that's worth going for. So I judged for the first time last year and asked Blaine to turn his video on. And the reason is because had I actually been able to see Blaine as a photograph on his application form, he definitely wouldn't have got many points from me, especially with that beard and haircut. But no, so Blaine's application really stood out. One of the reasons it stood out is because it was outward looking. And when Blaine was talking earlier, that's the way he was talking. He wasn't talking about himself and his own achievements. He was talking about how industry responds to RICS and how being outward looking is being helpful. And so if you read the criteria for the judges for judging this, it's about what you've done for industry apart from what you have done for yourself. So Blaine, you've not just been a monitoring surveyor, have you? You've done some other stuff, haven't you? Is it in Matrix or?
Sorry, Justin, you cut out a bit then. The final bit, you said you've not just done monitoring surveying.
No, you've done other stuff as well. You mentioned Matrix earlier. What RICS stuff have you been involved in?
Oh, so a long time. In terms of originally when the doctor scheme was kind of implemented, I used to go to the RICS Parliament Square and discuss how we can kind of market that to the wider, and it, all from my own experience. It wasn't something that just a lightning bolt hit, and I think that's one thing that people should, use your experiences to your advantage. Use the negatives to, create positives, and that all stemmed from the fact that I felt, well, it wasn't I felt, it was completely true. I was a main contractor and they had no MRICS surveyors. I found that it was something I was incredibly keen to do, and graduated from Rennes University, where again they really promote and push the RICS. That was one thing I was desperate to do. And then through the RICS, I did note that they were doing a doctor scheme, and I wanted to really try and balloon that and make it more visible to people who may be in the same position I was.
So one of the criteria is your RICS involvement and stuff outside of your job. And all of the judges mark people down if they don't mention that. So if all you've done is, as you mentioned earlier, you've just bought the driving test and then you get on with it. If you haven't done anything outward looking, just about yourself, then you will get marked down. Another way you'll get marked down is it says sometimes give 2 examples of something or 3 areas where you've done this. And if you only put 1, then you will score low on that point. And it's surprising because when you read what the candidates have done, they've done other stuff, but they've just not put it on the application form, and so they've not done well.
And I think just to jump in, sorry, on that as well, because the bit I'm really keen on when people have spoken to me about it is, and it's back to that point of how do I do this to pass, or how do I do this to win the award? If you're approaching it with that mentality, and I'll say this happily to everyone viewing, this isn't the award for you. It's not to do with that. It's not let me achieve these 5 ticks in the box. The same way I'd look at the fellowship. It is a continued commitment to this industry, and it's not necessarily a technical thing you've done. It is a commitment to our industry and our profession, and yet that can't be, as I say, that I know I keep using the roadmap, but it can't be. You can't say to someone, do these 5 things and you'll achieve it, because it's people have done different things. You've heard these stories today, and yourself included, Justin. Your involvement in the RICS, and yours as well, Natasha. You're continually involved in the RICS, and I think that's the critical part.
I'm conscious of time, and the final point, Natasha, I'll leave you with is the achievement that you pick. Make sure it's yours, because sometimes people put achievements down, and you look at it and you think that was probably your boss that did that, yet you're claiming the glory for it, or it's so ridiculously like you turned around a corporate monster into something else at the age of 19, and you just don't think you did. So make it something that is honest and true. I'm conscious it's 11 o'clock, Natasha, so I'm gonna finish there.
No, sorry, Justin. So we heard some great stories earlier. I think something else that you did mention about actually put in the application form what has been asked for, and that's what was mentioned with Matt. If they're asking for client satisfaction and examples, actually put that quote in. But I'd say when you judge the awards, instead of I guess using the term marking them down, it would be that they just wouldn't get an extra points, you know, for certain client satisfaction is out of 5, they might only get 3 rather than 5.
They'll get a lower mark. They will.
Yeah.
There were some people that there was a few that got top marks in all of them, so it was difficult. It was very close. There were some amazing candidates, but particularly in the other things I said earlier before we started, the QS one was the really low quality of people that turn up for the QS one, which is why Blaine won. No, that's not true. They were really amazing candidates, and Blaine did. I mean, all the people on this did very well to win it. Yeah.
No, thank you, Justin. Sorry, we had to cut that a little bit short. So I do need to bring this to close. It has just passed 11 o'clock. So I hope that has been useful. I think just one of the questions that came in is there a weighting whether you apply for yourself or getting to others to apply for you? Is there any difference, or would judges mark you differently? And the answer is no to that, whether you nominate yourself or somebody else does, that it doesn't matter. So I think that's good to know for everybody, because actually, particularly me, because I'm involved with RICS Matrix, I knew of the awards before my employers did. So I went to them and said, look, I think I could apply for this, and then they supported me. So don't feel like somebody has to come to you first. And also think of others. If you know somebody, whether they're a surveyor or even a mentor, because there is a mentor category, speak to them about it. You know, you don't need to write the application form for them, but just suggest that they maybe look into it and apply. So thank you very much for listening. This webinar has been recorded, and everybody who signed up will be sent a link. So please do then also share that link with anybody else that you think may find it useful. If you're watching this at a later date and you have questions, do get in touch with Angela. Her email is in the chat box, and I'm sure all of us will be happy for you to reach out to us on LinkedIn if you do want to get in touch with us. Our next RICS Matrix webinar is Wednesday the 8th of July, so in 2 weeks' time. At the same time, that will be focused on apprentices. Keep an eye out on the RICS Matrix LinkedIn page for anything happening, whether it's our webinars or more local digital events. But otherwise, thank you again. Thanks to our panelists, thanks to our audience, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha.
Keep well, everyone.